Most online coaches, when they see 100K per month, they think it's unachievable, right? Or even if they do think it's achievable, they don't know exactly the roadmap that it takes to get there. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the ads conversion mechanism, which is webinars that we use, and sales system that it takes to reach 100K per month. Now this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, so very little editing, not a whole lot of fluff, just pure value. I decided to bring out my handy, trusty whiteboard. Let's get it. If you don't already know who I am, my name is Marc-Anthony, and I'm the co-founder here at Scaling Webinars. And me and my team, we help coaches, creators, and consultants scale to multiple six figures per month with ads, webinars, and sales systems. And in today's video, I'm going to break down literally everything that it takes for you to reach 100K per month in your business with ads, webinars, and sales, okay? So let's start from the very beginning, ads, okay? There's something that we say in our business. You want to track everything from click to close, okay? Close being sale, click being ads. Okay, so let's start with the ads. All right, so what ads should you run? Okay, so there's only two ad platforms that you should probably use. That's YouTube and that's Facebook. Now, what are the pros and cons of both? Our company, we use Facebook ads. Okay, can you scale with YouTube ads? 100%. But there are going to be pros and cons for both Facebook and YouTube ads. All right, so YouTube ads, notoriously, ad costs are much more expensive. About 2, sometimes even 3x more than Facebook ad costs. Okay, with Facebook ad costs, a pro, it's less expensive. Okay. Now, YouTube, because it's a search-based intent platform. Okay, so what does that mean? When you go on YouTube, you're actively looking for something to solve your problems, right? So, for example, you watching this video, you may have looked up how to scale my business to 100K per month, and you saw my face here. You're actively looking for a solution to your problems. Okay. Now, this is intent-based. It's an intent-based platform, right? Search intent-based. Okay. Now, with Facebook, it's an interruption-based platform. Meaning, on Instagram and Facebook, when people are scrolling down their feed, right, they really aren't looking for ads, or they're not really looking for anything to solve their problems. You're interrupting them at the exact moment that they're scrolling, right? Interruption-based platform, okay? So this is why a lot of people, they like YouTube ads, right? Because people are actively searching to solve their problems. With Facebook ads, it's an interruption-based platform. Okay, so these are the pros and cons of both. All right, so let's take Facebook ads. What we see in our client accounts is that ads under 60 seconds perform the best. All right, every time we've gone over 60 seconds, all right, it depends on what type of customer and ICP that you're targeting. Some need more education than others, right? But every time we've really gone over 60 seconds, results decline, right? Between 45 and 60 seconds, sweet spot for the ads, okay? Now, the metrics that you're going to want to track in your ads account is CTR, CPC, CPA. You're going to want to track click-through rate, cost per click, and your cost per acquisition, okay? So depending on what funnel that you're running, if you are running a webinar, all right, then this would be CPI. All right, so this is the cost for someone to give you their information, all right? Their name, email, phone number for them to opt in to your webinar, okay? So across all of our client accounts, we see an average, and this is an average, it depends on your industry, it depends on your offer, it depends on your advertising, but the average that we see across our client accounts is a $7 to $20 cost per lead, okay? Now, again, this is 100% dependent on your industry, your offer, and your advertising, okay? So, $7 to $20 is really the average that we see in our client accounts. Now, what's click-through rate? Is the amount of people who actually click on your ad, the percentage of people who actually click on your ad, okay? The good baseline metric that you're gonna want here is 1%, okay? So if 1% of people who are interrupted by your ad actually click on your ad, this means that your ad is performing okay. 1% is the minimum that we like to see across our client accounts, all right? Now, cost per click. Now, this metric, this is a little bit of a controversial metric, okay? Because this metric can vary a bunch, and a lot of businesses get caught up in looking at false metrics and not really understanding exactly what they need, okay? So your cost per click is essentially your cost to advertise, all right? So this can be anywhere between $2, $6, $7, even $8, all right? This is entirely dependent on your offer, your messaging, your niche, and your advertising, of course, okay? This is just the cost of bids in the Facebook platform, okay? Because Facebook runs on an auctioning system, all right? So if this is your target audience, okay? All these people in your audience, and this is you, and this is your competitors. Facebook runs on an auctioning system or a bidding system, all right? To bid for the people in your target audience, okay? So let's say, like I said, $7 to $20 cost per lead. So whichever one of these advertisers either bids the most money, right? Or their offer, the messaging or creative resonates with the most people, then Facebook Mr. Zuck, we put a gold chain on him, cool. Mr. Zuck, all right, is going to then award the people who pay the highest bidder, all right, or the best advertisers, all right, which get access to the majority of the market. That's how Facebook works, okay? And these are the metrics that you really want to track inside your Facebook account. These are the metrics that we look at in order to make decisions. Now, there are metrics within metrics, all right? Like, for example, click-through rate. If your click-through rate is 1%, the metric within the metric that we track is hold rate and thumb stop rate. Now, that's going to be in a separate video where I talk about creatives. That's not about this video right here, all right? But the bird's eye view, the overlaying metrics that you really want to track is click-through rate, your cost per click, and your cost per acquisition. All right, so if you're running a webinar, this is your cost per lead, or cost per result, not necessarily cost per acquisition, and cost per result. But if you're running a book call funnel, this is your cost per book call. But because we run webinars, right, it's your cost per lead. Okay, so this is ads. All right, now let's get into the next thing. Now, the next thing is the webinar. Okay, now in the previous video, you can watch it here, wherever, right? I spoke about the different metrics that are in your webinar. All right, now I'll run through them again. Okay, so if this is an ad, all right, this is all the traffic from Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, okay? So all that traffic goes to the opt-in page, okay? Now the opt-in page consists of headline, subheadline, and the opt-in form, the lead capture form, okay? Now, ads to this page, your page should convert at a minimum of 25%. Okay? Meaning, if 100 people land on this page, 25 of them should give you their name, email, and phone number, all right, to go on to the next step, okay? Now, from this next step, they hit the thank you page, okay? This indoctrinates them in order to show up to your live webinar, all right? Then from this, you're gonna get a series of emails before your live webinar. Then the live webinar happens, all right? Where all the emails send them to the live webinar, and there's text messages. You can have a Facebook group here. Again, if you want to watch more in depth about this, then you're gonna have to watch one of my other videos, okay? Now, let's go through the steps of troubleshooting each part of the funnel, all right? Because in order to get to 100K per month, right, you need to understand something that's called the theory of constraints. So what does this mean? A lot of business owners, this is a mistake that 99% of you watching this video make and will make, all right? You don't know where the actual constraint is in your business. So I threw a ton of metrics at you, okay? I told you that Facebook ads, you want a 1% click-through rate, 25% opt rate, X, Y, and Z, okay? Now, if your funnel is not working, okay, you need to be able to look at specific numbers within your business and find the constraint, all right? Find exactly what is the portion or part of your business that's not working, okay? A lot of people, they look at the wrong constraint. Or, worse yet, they'll try to fix the constraint that's the easiest to fix, right? Or that they're best at fixing, okay? Instead of actually focusing on the constraint that actually matters in their business, okay? Now, I'm gonna get into an example of theory of constraints. I just wanted to explain that to you guys right here in this video first, okay? Now, I digress. So back to the live webinar, all right? So, we want 25% opt rate. They're gonna go to the thank you page. They're gonna get emails and text messages, and then it's gonna be your live webinar, okay? Now, you can sell two things on your webinar, right? You could sell either the products, so you can collect cash in the webinar, or you can have people book in a call, okay? Now, if you're selling, okay, you want a minimum conversion rate of 6%. Meaning, 6% of people on the live webinar should buy your product, okay? Now for phone, you want a minimum of 10% because it's much low barrier to entry scheduling a phone call. So you want a minimum of 10% of people who are live scheduling a call, okay? Now, depending on your price point, your economics could work out to where you could have less than these both numbers, right? And still have a very profitable business. These are just average KPIs that we like to see within our clients' businesses, okay? Now, we just went over the webinar. Okay, this exact setup for the webinar to get to 100K per month. Now, let's talk about the sales team. I'm a marketer, but I love going deep into sales systems, okay? I think sales teams are one of the easiest and quickest ways to get to 100K per month. Especially if you insert key players within an organization, it can happen almost overnight, all right? At any step of these buying needs, okay? Now, where most coaches go wrong is they think they need to hire a lot of salespeople, or they hire the wrong salespeople. So, let me go based off of your business, what kind of salespeople you should be hiring. If most of your traffic is through Instagram DMs, then you're gonna need a DM setter. So the DM setter would just be inside of your business, right? Inside of your Instagram DMs, interacting and setting people up for calls. If most of your traffic comes from this, then you should have a DM setter, okay? Now, if most of your traffic goes into a webinar or some sort of conversion mechanism, right? A webinar, a book call funnel, anything where you're collecting name, email, and phone number, you need an SDR, all right, a setter, all right? They're gonna be on the phones calling leads, okay? And no matter what position that you need, you're always going to need a closer. In order to get to 100K per month, you only need one closer, okay? I see many businesses, they hire way too many salespeople. You only need one, all right? But you need an 8 plan. That's the only difference, right? A good closer can literally do the performance of 2 to 3 other closers. So for efficiency's sake, and for actually running your business lean, we like to run all of our clients' businesses extremely lean so that there's less complexity, okay? You only need one closer and max 2 setters. You can either have one DM setter or one setter on the phones, or you can have 2 setters, all right? You really don't need more than one DM setter unless your account's like 1 million followers or something like that, or you get so many DMs. Then you may need 2. But this, I cannot stress this enough. You only need one. That's it. One closer can collect 100K in cash. They do it on all of our offers, right? You want to run your sales team as efficient and as lean as possible, okay? Now, let's talk about the theory of constraints now. Actually troubleshooting what goes wrong in your business, okay? So let me give you an example of a business that I recently audited, all right? And we actually did sign them on as a client. You guys are gonna see that case study here soon. Oh my gosh, we're gonna make them disgustingly rich, all right? And if you wanna get disgustingly rich, right? There's a link down below. You're gonna click that link and you're gonna watch a video from my co-founder, Brian, talking about exactly what we do, and he's gonna show you a whole bunch of case studies, all right? I digress though. I had a phone call with her a couple days ago, and she was running a webinar. She used to make 300K per month, right? Disgusting, right? 300K per month, that's a great amount of money. Over the pandemic, right? Things were so much easier to print cash out of thin air, right? Now, her revenue dropped all the way down to 50K in January, and it's going down ever since. I think when we signed them, they're at 40K per month, but they used to make this much money, right? But they had none of these. The only thing they had was this, just a webinar. They had no ads, they had no sales team, literally a webinar, one person, 300K per month. Wouldn't you like that to be you? Well, unfortunately, it's not the pandemic anymore, and unfortunately, it's not that easy to literally print money from the sky. You need an entire system, okay? So, I'll run you through the metrics in her business, right? And then I want you to put in the comments, what do you think the theory of constraint is? What do you think they need help, okay? So, on their webinar, right, they used to get an average of 1,500 people to register for the webinar. That's what they used to get. Now, it dropped all the way down to 900. Now, their show-up rate for their webinar was around, on average, like 20%, okay? 20% show-up rate. Which means that about 180 people would actually show up to the webinar. Now, how many people would buy on the webinar? They would get about 10% of people who showed up to buy on the webinar, all right? So they would get about 18 buyers every single month, right? Every single time they ran a webinar, right? Within if they got this amount of traffic, okay? So they went from 1,500 people registering all the way down to 900, all right? So that means that they went from people showing up being 300 all the way down to 180, all right? They went to the amount of buyers being 30 all the way down to 18 buyers, okay? So what is dipping in performance? Traffic, all right? Well, they weren't running ads, to be fair. Everything was organic, right? But ads, just think of this as a mechanism for traffic, just traffic, okay? This could be organic, this could be paid ads, traffic, all right? So the traffic is slowly dying down every single month, okay? So me auditing their business, what do I see an opportunity for? What do they need now? They need more traffic. If we get traffic back to where it was, more people come in the room, they make more money. That's number 1 constraint I saw. Number 2 constraint was 0 sales team. They had none of this. No sales team at all. She was making 300K per month, 0 sales team. All right? I just went into her webinar jam, right? She has a little over 7,000 leads. All right? So what's a lead again? They give you their name, email, phone number. All right? So she has a little bit over 7,000 contacts, okay, of people who have never been dialed. They've never been emailed, right? They haven't heard from her in over a long time. And this is conservative. This was just what I counted. I estimate it's probably close to 12,000 leads, okay? Now, let me break it down to you guys. Our clients convert about 1% of leads every single month. So, meaning, out of these 7,000 leads, and by the way, that's what cold traffic, by the way. That's not organic. We literally just had a launch right now where we're converting like 10% of leads, right? It's insane, right? But this is cold traffic. You want a minimum to convert 1% of total leads who come in through your funnel, okay? So this is 7,000 leads. We want 70 people to buy. Now she has a high ticket offer, okay? So 70 people, we want a minimum of those people to buy over the next 30 days, right? because we are going to install an SDR into her business. She has all these leads, none of them have ever been called. So we're going to get an SDR to hit all these leads. And they're all organic. So they've been following and trusting her for a long time. These aren't like cold leads, okay? These are people that have already been in her ecosystem, all right? So if we get 70 people to buy, she's a $3,800 product. If 70 people buy the $3,800 product, all right, that's $266,000. This is just from a sales team. This is excluding the money she makes from a webinar, all right? Just by installing one position into her business can make her $266,000. All right. Now, does this happen overnight? Heck no, this doesn't happen overnight, right? This needs to be an A player. All right. So you need to know where to find A players to join your team. If you don't already, then click the link down below, right, and speak with our team, and we'll put some A players in your team. That way you can make this amount of money, right? But as you guys can see, when analyzing a business, right, and trying to get them to 100K per month, keep in mind, like I said, right now she's at 40K per month. Just with this one position, we can more than 5x her revenue with one position, right? And honestly, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, like her show rate is atrocious right now. Her closer is not that great, that too. But this one position can lead to this amount of money. This is why it's so important in your business to understand the theory of constraints, okay? Understand exactly how traffic, ads, webinar, conversion mechanism, and sales all work together in a cohesive unit in order to get you to 100K per month, all right? So I just broke that down. Now, let me break it down in your specific situation, right? I want to make it a little bit more actionable for you. I just detailed a client that we just signed, her business, how we plan on getting her $266,000, right, in the next 45 to 60 days, all right? Now, your business, you may be at 50K per month, 60K per month. How do you get to 100K? Number one is ads. How much money do you need to spend on ads? Let's say you get to 100K per month, you spend $20,000 on ads. You send all this traffic to a webinar, all right? Now, in between here and here, what do we have? Leads, okay? So let's say that you spend $10 per lead, okay? What's $20,000 divided by 10? 2,000. So which means you get 2,000 leads. It means 2,000 people registered for your webinar. Now, how many people are going to actually show up to your webinar? So 2,000, 30% of that is 600 to your webinar, all right? And this is over the course of a month. Let's say you're spending $20,000 in a month, all right? So I don't want to make it seem like you're going to spend $20,000 every single webinar, unless you have that kind of money. All right, so 600 people will show up to your webinar, all right? Now, if 10% of these people schedule a call, all right, that's 60 calls. Now, out of these 60 calls scheduled, all right, let's say that 70% show their call, all right, and 35% of them close. So it means 15 people close, and if your product is $5,000, that's $75,000 made directly from the webinar. Now, all that means is that your salespeople, out of these 2,000 leads, all right, let's drag this over here, all right, you just need an outbound SDR to call these 2,000 leads, all right? And like I said, you should aim to close 1% of these leads, all right? So that's 20 leads, close extra. So 5,000 times 20 is 100K. So these SDRs can close an extra 5 people, because that would make it 20. So if they close an extra 5 people on sales calls, all right? That means 20 leads, $100,000. So $75,000 contributed directly from the webinar. $25,000 contributed from SDRs. This is how you can make $100,000 in your business with an ads, webinar, and sales system. This is it. This is the exact playbook that we run for all of our clients in order to make them multiple 6 figures per month in revenue. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video today. I like the raw whiteboard style videos, just talking to you guys about exactly what we do in our business, okay? So if you need help, and if you're a business that's at $100,000 per month, or you're under $100,000 per month, and you want to make multiple 6 figures per month, well, this is what you're going to do. You're going to click the link down below, and you're going to schedule an appointment to speak with our team. And on that call, we're going to assess your current situation and see, can this ads, webinar, and sales system be plugged into your business and scale you to multiple 6 figures like some of our other clients? I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching the video. Comment down below your favorite part. Peace. Talk soon.